jump in here. It is almost 8:45. We gave some time for people to jump in. Surely it's going to be a pullback at some point, right? But again, we just don't know where that is. Well, you know, it's right now at 3,422. It could go all the way up here to 3,445. It could go to 340 or 34.35. All right, so what we could potentially look for is at least multiple back tests at the top end for a move down, or we just wait for the pullback and wait for the failed breakdown at one of these lows. That's pretty good. All right, that would not be too bad. All right, if we did get a break of this trend, right, which we are coming towards here pretty quickly. All right, the other thing we could look for is if we do break it, we look for a re-entry of it. All right. So as we're losing 341 here, we'll have to just give it some time and see what it does here. Maybe we get a back test, but again, we just don't have a zone filled out here. So I'm just going to wait for buys. If I was trading gold, that's what I would do. I would just wait for buys. All right. Because the dangerous thing about breakdowns when you don't have zones painted out is, again, you're assuming, okay, right? Because we don't have a well-established low, we have to assume where the breakdown would be. All right. And we don't know. All right, so that's why I wouldn't be interested necessarily of trading a breakdown off of this. I would just wait for a buy. I would wait for a feeling of some zone and then a re-entry of it. All right, now we don't know necessarily where that's going to be the nearest area, probably 34.24.
For gold, it should be pretty obvious what we need to do right now. All right, let's pull it up. Let's pull up the bands, or let's pull up the bands on the indicator here so we can see what our spread is looking like today. Yesterday spread about 800 ticks or so. Let's see what today is. 33.07. Right, just below the true low here. And then we have 33.86 at the upper end here. All right, let's take a measure of gold. Doesn't look too crazy. Let's see what the spread is looking like. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. All right, we're still in the 800 tick realm for gold right now. Again, I still think it's appropriate to maybe chunk down slightly on gold until this starts to get figured out. Okay, yeah, this, you know, the normal daily movement for gold on a normal day is like 200 ticks or so. 200 to 250, maybe 300. All right, so but right now the bands on the indicator are reflecting a volume spread of about 800 ticks. So I think chunking down, at least to start, is pretty reasonable. All right, so it should be pretty clear. You know, we're at the previous lows right now. All right, so either we need to retake 30, we need to retake 30 or 3,330. I don't know, that looked weird to me. 3,330. We need to retake this, all right, to get back to the upside. So we retake 33.30, ideally push through 33.34, okay, and then we need to create a new high above 33.47. Now, let's say, for example, we wait for clear market movement, and we take a buy above 33.34. All right, there's 140 ticks up to VWAP. All roads lead back to VWAP. All right, so there's 134 ticks there. All right, so for sure, I mean, somewhere along this way, cut out 75% and just let the rest run. Okay.
All right, so I mean, we're still in a similar scenario, a similar situation that we have been in. Again, we are battling the lows. 62.34 to 62.82 is a long-term, multi-year low that we have battled before. We've been here before. All right, this is the first time in a long time that oil has failed it. All right, and now we're continually trying to retake it, and again, it seems like for, you know, whatever reason, oil wants to come up here and back test 65.24 to 65.63. Again, I think that would be very actionable if we did back test one of these lows for a sell. All right, but during the session yesterday, obviously we had crude oil inventories yesterday, which didn't really do like a whole, I mean, really we had this massive sell-off here at 10.10. All right, after this massive sell-off, we really didn't do a whole lot. Obviously failed 62.35. All right, so we did fail it. So we got a little actionable sell here, maybe about 60 ticks. All right, and then we spent the whole rest of the session battling 61.76
and 62.35. So we were just range bound basically the entire rest of this session. So now we've had a little bit of a pull up. All right, now what I would want, again, would be a refailure, right? Now we have technically taken, where's the other one? There it is. We technically have retaken 62.80, 81, 83 here. Technically, we've retaken it. All right. So a refailure of it could be somewhat actionable to get us back down to 62.35/37. This red line here. This could be actionable to get us back down to the downside. But where things I think really begin, and here's where you have a scenario where there are, there's the actual low and then there's the true low, right? I believe the wick this created when price came down to it, obviously buyers started eating up the prices here to get back to the upside. All right, so we would need to see, again, sellers flow in after we fail 61.74 here, 78, whatever. And then we would need to see volume really flow. Otherwise, a recapture of these lows, 62.7 or 62.21 to 62.34, gives us a launch back up here to the mids. All right, again, pretty simple. Not too much to consider other than that.